After a 1 week hiatus, we are back. It's time for the 3 WrestleMania version. Unlike the WWE, we're not doing this podcast in a 2-nighter. It's one night for 2 shows. That guy right there, he's Johnny Christ, no relation. I'm Dennis Farrell. It's the 3. Let's start, Johnny, with what did you think overall WrestleMania?
Dude, overall, WrestleMania 38 was a fucking flex. It was just a straight up flex. Like, that was the best WrestleMania I'd seen in years. And actually, it's kind of funny that we skipped last week because we were supposed to do our top 3 WrestleManias of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta say, after this weekend, it might have snuck into my top 3 of all time. I'm not even gonna lie. And it's not just hyperbole or anything like that. Like, I really was thinking about that afterward, and I was like, man, I would have dropped my top 3 and then that would have happened. Man, before we get into our top 3 of this WrestleMania 38, I just have to say, I don't think that there was a bad moment on the card. Yeah, sure, you could poke, prod, whatever you want to do at a couple of botches here and there, but they weren't even egregious in my opinion. And the entertainment value of the weekend far outweighed it all. I mean, we're going to nitpick and get into our top 3, but I got to say that I couldn't disagree with anybody choosing differently than how I'm about to choose.
Boy, that's a good one, because I sat at the end of the weekend. I watched a ton of wrestling. Like, I'm fighting. I've got like the pass where I can watch all the side stuff, the Ring of Honor, the GCW stuff. So I watched a lot of wrestling over the weekend. And for me, that's what makes WrestleMania special. Isn't just because of WrestleMania, but it's all the other little shows here and there that make that weekend feel special. Like, I seriously told all my friends, all my girlfriends, that
how many girlfriends you got, Dennis? Wait a minute, you ain't getting away with that shit. What are you talking about?
She goes to another school. Okay.
Oh, wow.
She lives in Canada.
You got one in Canada. Wow. Okay.
No,
but I thought you were trying to pull a fast one there.
But I told everybody, probably not best to contact me. I'm going into a wrestling induced coma for the weekend. I ordered out on Friday night because I watched wrestling, and then, SmackDown and the Hall of Fame and all that stuff. And then Saturday I made a pot roast, which was to die for, if I don't say so myself. And then Sunday I was just all in. I was off work on Monday, so I was up late Sunday watching it, and I turned it off and I sat there for a minute and I thought, all right, this WrestleMania was phenomenal. Was it phenomenal because the last couple of years were not that great? Maybe the last 5 years, I easily have been somewhat forgettable WrestleManias. I think we all watched during the pandemic to see what they would do. Then we watched, the other 2-nighter. I'm still on the fence about the 2-night thing. I won't even lie to you. As fun as it was, I'll say this: what made WrestleMania Sunday special was because it was a one-day event. I found it hard to pick which day I liked better. I loved a pay-per-view on Saturday. I loved pay-per-views on Sundays, and we were inundated because they were staying and deliver the NXT early Saturday, which was great. I love afternoon pay-per-views. Overall, I did not feel drained. And that's what the last couple of years I felt with 2 nights was drained. Like, oh, it's Sunday, I got to watch it. I found myself wanting more, coming back. And, to wrap this pillow bow on it, this is what WWE, when they do it right, there's nobody better than them. I love AEW, but when WWE does it right, nobody better.
Yeah, and that's what I meant by a flex, man. You just nailed it right there, Dennis, because they just reminded everybody who the fuck they is. And I'm like, not even joking. I was skeptical like you were the last few years. I mean, I think a lot of wrestling fans, that's what's been the chirp. And I think finally they put on their big boy pants and were like, I hear you chirping. Let me remind you who the WWE is. And that's what that weekend was all about.
Boy, for even you know what, there wasn't many corny moments in night number 1. Even the cornies would have been Baron Corbin with the sword. I thought that was kind of cool. Even though I did
Where did you watch night one? Where did you watch night one? Or both nights? You watched everything at home?
Yeah, I watched both at home, and I was kind of bummed out because you told me something and I was super jealous.
Yeah, I went to a movie theater to watch night one.
Well, before we jump in, talk to me about this. You got to
try that. So that was amazing, and it could have, could have been amazing to have more people in the theater. But this local theater I was at, there was 3 groups of guys that were in there. One was, I believe, a father and son. Another one was a couple of buddies, and then it was me and 3 other buddies, maybe 4 other buddies, 5 other. Oh no, there were 6 of us. And we started here at my house, had a couple of drinks, got down to the movie theater, where they serve more alcohol. So it really helped out. And then, halfway through the thing, there was like an intermission, and me and my buddy decided it'd be funny to do like a little shoot match in the aisle for everybody. It was pretty good. If I do say so myself, I of course was the victor and got the pinfall.
Booker always goes over.
Right. Absolutely. And I mean, why not?
Yeah.
So I highly recommend the experience. I will do it next time that they have one. It was actually AEW that I realized they started doing it in the theaters, and I missed that last one. I ended up just watching at home. Was it Revolution? But they had it in the theaters too. So I looked it up. If anyone has a theater close by them, I highly recommend looking up if they got a wrestling pay-per-view in there, because it was 3 hours, a little more than 3 hours, whatever it was, live in a movie theater, and it was fucking epic.
Well, I mean, next year it's in LA. It's right.
Oh yeah, I'm going.
So I mean,
as long as I'm not on the road, I'm gonna fucking be there. That's for goddamn sure.
Can I go with you? Can I tag along?
No,
I didn't think so. No. I see pictures of you having parties. I'm always like, I'm just gonna start joking with them, be like, hey, I'm coming to your next party, and then you'd be like, I don't even like you, Dennis. You're just the only person that'll talk wrestling with me.
Yeah, pretty much. Like I said, there wasn't a lot of other people in the theater. I had to drag friends that don't watch wrestling, but they absolutely loved this weekend. So let's fucking get into it, Dennis.
Wait, one more question. In my mind, you only hang out with people in bands. So all the guitarists from the bands come to your house and hang out. Does that, or do you have regular people friends?
I have plenty of friends of all different walks of life, my friend.
All right. That sounds suspect. I think you just hang out with it's you and Slash and just guitarists. That's all you hang out with.
That's all it is? No. Guitarists don't like to hang out with bass players for first. Second off, no, I mean, honestly, I've got old friends, I've got new friends, and literally from all different walks of life. I mean, as you know, from the Drinks with Johnny podcast, I've actually befriended a lot of people in the wrestling community as well. So it's just exciting for me. I'm reliving my youth. After I watched WrestleMania, we went to a fucking arcade and played laser tag. It was amazing.
The last time I went laser tag might have been one of the best dates ever, because they say you're supposed to let the girl win.
Wait. That was your only date, Dennis. Stop.
It was. I beat her ass in laser tag, and she got so mad because I was competitive and didn't let her win. And I'm not ever going to take a first date laser tag again.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
All right, let's start the 3. You start night one off with your number 3 moment.
My number 3 moment
or match.
I'm going to go matches, because if I go moments, if I was going to go moments, I would say I would have to put Cody Rhodes coming over to the WWE in that entrance and that shock value. Although a lot of people speculated it would happen, but it becoming a changeover on the biggest stage in wrestling. I think that was a very significant moment. The match was good, not great though. I thought the finish was great. The match itself, I found myself going, there's better matches on the card. So let's get to my 3. I think The Miz, Logan Paul, and the Mysterios is my top 3 match from the night, because of the ridiculous factor, because I didn't even know Logan Paul was going to be there. I'll be completely honest. I did not follow the storyline before and didn't know that he was part of it. So
Wow.
when he showed up, I was like, that's hilarious. That's awesome. I like the shock value. He absolutely surprised me. I mean, I guess it shouldn't be surprised. He's an athlete. He's shown that he's an athlete. But damn, those suplexes he was hitting were pretty good. Like legit locking his legs out, or rather bending his legs just the right way, getting a nice fall on it. Everything about it was really impressive. His splits. And then of course the Miz with the shocker at the end. Like just, I mean, how long could that storyline been going on, Dennis? You tell me. He just broke it that night after what, like a few weeks of that storyline going?
I tell you what, you saw it on a big screen. I have a big TV, but you saw it on, did you see, like, for me, that change of smiley and then he goes into that serious look? I went, oh shit. Did you register that change in his look as it happened?
You know, I don't think I did. Because I wasn't sure if it was, just like them both going to look hard, like they're about to take on everybody because Logan Paul did such a good job. So then when it did happen, I mean, once I saw the hand start to drop now, then I knew it was coming. But I didn't catch on to the facial expression like you did.
I will say my number 3 is the same match, actually.
Wow. Okay.
I love the match. I even tweeted out that like I would love to see more Logan Paul.
I agree.
I don't hate the guy. A lot of people think he's a toolbox. And listen, I'm always a fan of anybody who can acquire wealth and spend it any way they want.
Wait a second. Did you just say think he's a toolbox?
Yeah.
Everyone always just says tool. You said toolbox.
Yeah.
That's
taking it to the next level.
Wow, man.
You can use that one. You can have that. That's I'm gifting that to you. Toolbox. He's a toolbox.
Okay.
Yeah, sure, you're a tool, but you're the box the tools go in. So,
wow.
Anyways, I'm a fan of anybody who can, show wealth off like he does, because you know what? That's a flex and good for you. Yeah. A lot of people hate it and find it jealous. And the fact that you wore a bedazzled Pokemon card, 1 of 1 worth, a ton of money. I thought that was great. I didn't know what to expect from him in the ring. He blew me away, as you said. I'd say he looked almost seasoned. WWE did a great job of keeping him just limited in there, where he wasn't exposed much. You didn't see, we know he's green. We know he's not a wrestler, but the way they used him in that match, you couldn't tell.
Right.
And
I agree.
Even afterwards, when Miz hit him, I thought, I want to see a baby face Logan Paul in the WWE. I don't want this to end.
I couldn't agree with you more, Dennis. I think it's awesome. And back to the point of, haters and stuff. I get it. I was on the outside, not really knowing much of his story, kind of a hater too. But then, I mean, the kid accumulated his own wealth, went into the boxing world, helped people get paid, and still continues to help or try to help fighters get what they should be paid. That's kind of commendable. I mean, you could say all you want about the craziness, probably most of which he did when he was even younger, coming up in the YouTube scene. I can't fault a guy in his 20s accumulating wealth through YouTube.
Yeah,
shit.
Do what you got to do.
Yeah. Anyways, moving on. What was your number
brother
2?
Up, by the way, Logan? I know you watch.
He does now.
Yeah, he does now. That's right. So my number 2 moment of the night, which was tough, but I'm going Becky Lynch Bianca Belair match.
Dude, are we gonna end up with the same 3 from night 1? We should have texted each other before because we got the same. Let's just go. Tell me why it was yours.
It was great storytelling. The match from top to bottom was interesting. You didn't know who was going to win that match.
No.
They could have made a case for Becky. They could have made a case for Bianca. It was just a great match, top to bottom. I loved the entrances, although Becky's, I felt her entrance was a little flat. I would love to have seen a little more WrestleMania pizzazz out of it, but you know what? She came out. They both they look like they hated each other. They both beat the shit out of each other. And I loved every second of that match.
I couldn't agree more, Dennis. That was absolutely my number 2. It would have probably been my number 1, if not for the one that I know we both want to talk about in a second here. But I didn't find the Becky Lynch entrance too lackluster. I will say just overall the car entrances were once again quite a big flex. Just bringing out cars onto the ramp was pretty epic. And to your point, though, the match itself, the storytelling within the match, not the storytelling leading up or what's happening after, anything like that. That storytelling in the match, to your point, was like some of the best work I've seen from anybody. And we've seen Becky Lynch be able to do that several times before. But Bianca Belair was the one that kind of really surprised me. I know that she's been around. She does a lot of great things. I've seen her wrestle before, but the way that Becky Lynch, I've already known she can do that, right? I didn't know Bianca could go like that too. And that was an equal pairing like that. They just really fed off of each other really well. I thought they both looked great. They really brought everything to the table. I couldn't sing better praises about that match. I think it was one of the best. If it wasn't for a couple other showstoppers that happened over the week, I mean, I would have been on any of the other WrestleManias that we've been talking about in the last several years. It would have been the number 1 spot, in my opinion.
You stole the words right out of my mouth. Any other WrestleMania, that was match of the night.
Right.
That was match of the weekend on any other. I mean, you go back the last, like we said at the beginning, 5 years, that match right there might have been the match out of all 5 of those years that we all are still talking about today. And unfortunately, I think this match will be the forgotten match on the card because of what we're going to talk about. But I do want to say, you mentioned it, honorable mention for the Cody Rhodes.
Yeah.
Because I think we all kind of knew it was coming, but they casted some doubt. Is he going to show up? Who's it going to be? You know, I think they teased Shane McMahon a little bit. There was a lot of tease there, and you know, good for Cody. Here's the thing: there are a lot of AEW people out there that are butthurt, and unfortunately, don't be. The guy was a free agent, and you only have so long in the wrestling industry. And if you can make your millions, make them no matter where you are. And deep down inside, I think, this is just me speculating, I think Cody was always a WWE guy. It was just the beast he couldn't slay to be the top guy. He wanted to be a top guy. He had to leave and make himself up to come back and be a top guy and win that championship. And I think deep down inside, you know, starting a company was all great and everything, but his heart was being the top guy in WWE.
Well, I agree with you to a lot of what you're saying. I don't think it had as much to do with the money as it might have been just making it in your career and stuff. I think there was a lot more into it than that. Like you said, a lot of slaying the dragon, coming back and getting that top spot. And, you know, I really hope he does. I've had Brandy, his wife, on the show. She was absolutely amazing. Helped out a lot with my Drinks with Johnny programming and got, you know, some of the other stars over there. And as you said at the top of the show, I'm a huge AEW fan. I was not butthurt that Cody went to the WWE, though. As you said, you take the opportunities. He was a free agent. And to be honest, this is the kind of shit you want to see in wrestling when there are two, let's say, competitive companies. I won't say competing companies at this juncture, but two competitive companies that are kind of the major leagues of everything right now. I want to see them switching sides. I want to see them going. I want to see that factor that we got to see in the late 90s between WCW and WWE of who's going to show up on whose radar, who's coming up on, who's the WWE bringing up from the indies, who's AEW bringing up from the indies, who they swapping guys with, you know, like, because of the free agencies. It's like, I mean, it's like real sports. It's like other sports, rather. It's like the fact that, you know, you never know where the star is going to go. Sometimes everyone speculates, oh, they're going to go here, they're going to go here. And then sometimes you get a shocker like this. And I think it's great for wrestling as a fan. It just makes storylines write themselves in a lot of ways. And I think that's like perfect.
It feels like in this competition, AEW, WWE, for the last couple of years, AEW's had the upper hand with a lot of the WWE releases. And this really felt like, all right. And I know it wasn't meant to be this way, but it felt like in my eyes, all right, you can have all those guys. We're just going to take one of your EVPs right out from under your nose.
Yeah.
Boom. And debut them at WrestleMania. And I'm going to steal one of your words. Huge flex right there for that company. And some people may poo-poo it. Some people, Cody Rhodes ain't that big of a, that's huge when you steal one of the other company's founding members right out from under you.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And then his speech last night on Monday Night Raw to open it up, I thought was a great promo. And again, it's one of those times where you can tell it's the best characters and the best promos are made from taking who you are and just turning the knob up a little bit, taking the story that's true and just turning it up a little bit. And I think that to that point is why I said I like when moments like that can kind of, the storylines can kind of just write themselves, and you can really just feel how do we turn that knob up just a little bit? How do we take this realness and bring it into wrestling as far as storylines go? So
your number one.
Oh, we all know what the number one of night one was. That was Stone Cold motherfucking Steve Austin and Kevin Owens. Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, I had no critiques whatsoever. I sat back and watched like a kid again, although I was in my 20s when it was going on, but still I sat back and watched. I enjoyed every second of it. The kid, I didn't know what to expect. That's what made it so great. Were they just going to sit and talk? You knew a stunner was going to happen, but I didn't know that it was going to be a wrestling match. I didn't know it was going to be a 20-minute wrestling match at that, a no holds barred. I loved every second of it.
You named everything that made that match special. The surprise of it, the length of it, the physicality of it. Hell, how much did you want to fucking crack? If you didn't already have a beer in your hand, how much did you want to crack a beer at the end of that? Like, that was so epic to see. Stone Cold, obvious product placement. I have had the Broken Skull IPA. It's El Segundo. It comes from an El Segundo brewery right here in El Segundo, LA. I've had it on tap at my house. It is absolutely fantastic. So I'm really happy for him. Looks like he's putting on a big promotion for it, and looks like it's going to do quite well. And it rightfully so. He's a stud. He always has been. He's probably the GOAT in my opinion. That's debatable on any given Sunday, but you know, Stone Cold. What more needs to be said other than Stone Cold after how long comes back out and puts on a match like that? Like you said,
beats ass.
That was, and it was perfect. Everything about Kevin Owens, to his credit, to the wrestling side of it, helped sell a lot of that shit. Absolutely. And I've been a big Kevin Owens fan for a few years now, ever since one of the other big pops was it, I believe it was WrestleMania, might have been a Royal Rumble. I'm a little hazy on that, when he jumped off the sign.
Yes, that was
came down into the tables.
That was the one with no fans. It was supposed to be in Tampa that year, and there was no fans. And that's right. So that one, since pretty much that time, and then seeing him do promos, people will get to know from this show a little bit more how much I enjoy promos and storyline. And if you could cut a good promo, it means a hell of a lot more to me than being able to be the best wrestler, because everyone's got wrestling moves, but you got to have the charisma. You got to have your character just nailed. And Kevin Owens is a guy who I believe has his character just fucking nailed. Let me ask you this. Did you mark out as soon as it broke out into a wrestling match?
Oh, fuck yeah. Oh, I was standing in the movie theater. I was like, yes. I think I was standing before that, to be honest, just because Stone Cold was there. You hear the glass shatter. It's fucking awesome. But then when he asked the question, does anyone want to see this match happen right now? I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. You asked that question. You can't just ask that question and then not deliver. And they knew they weren't going to do that. So as soon as the question was asked, I was on my feet and I was ready to watch a fucking amazing. I thought it was probably going to be even a match at that point, to your point earlier. What, a couple minutes maybe?
Yeah.
Couple spots, a stunner, call it a day. And then it went on as a brawl for 15 to 20 minutes or whatever it was. Someone could give us the exact time, I'm sure. But that was, oh my God, that was one of the coolest things I've seen in a WrestleMania.
I think I think the match itself lasted 13 minutes and 55 seconds. I do have that there. But
Okay,
the whole segment together was, I believe, more than 20 minutes.
Yeah, that makes sense. And to that point, like I said, what do I love? The promos. That was a promo. That was a killer promo into a killer match. That's my idea of heaven. You gave me the storyline. You gave me everything. Both of them are great on the mic. And then they just went. And it was like, this is one of the greatest moments in WrestleMania history, in my opinion.
I will watch that again several more times before the month is even out. That's,
and I'll just go on the record and say, if we're lumping it all in both nights into one, that still would be the number one.
Oh, that would be in my top three. And we'll talk about night two here in a second. I will say this, that at the end of it, they were still a little bit about that sadness, because that's the last one. If he does another one, I don't see it. It was Texas. That's probably the only reason why I did it, with his IPA, the stars aligned. But there's that little sadness. It's like, I'll never see that again, and you know what? It chokes me up because it's Stone Cold, and 19 years, I believe it was, from this last match to this match. And holy shit, am I old? If 19 years, I never thought I'd live long enough where I could say, it was, I don't know, I remember 20 years ago. I remember that. That never clicks when you're 20 years old. And now
absolutely.
I don't know how old you are. I'm 44. So now when I say it's 20 years
ageless.
old, you're age. That's right. No relation. But now at 44, when I say it's 20 years old, I was a 20-year-old when that stuff happened, So boy, it kind of hits in a different way when you get older and you think, wow, that I remember his last match. I remember this last match. I was old then, I'm old now.
Well, to that point, I would totally agree with you. At the end of it, there was that nostalgia, and it was a lot of feelings. And at the end of it, you're like, oh man, I'm never going to get to see that again. And then we get into night two. What was your top three from night two, Dennis?
My top three for night two. This is going to be a tougher one, because it was night two, I think, was just as good as night one, but not as many top three moments for me. I will say AJ and Edge match would be my number three. The Edge entrance was amazing.
Yes.
The AJ comes out with the blood where he apparently hit his head coming out. So now I'm thinking, oh, what happened in the back? Why is he bleeding? I'm shooting my buddy a text, who's a producer for WWE, my BFF. See, I know cool people too. And I'm like, what just
cooler
happened?
People than me, then, if that's the case. I don't know any fucking buddy over there.
No.
I wish
Call
I did.
me sometimes. I could get you some tickets.
All right, cool. I love it.
Yeah, I'm going this coming week to Monday Night Raw. I'm excited.
Oh, sick. That's awesome, man.
So, in free tickets. That's my BFF's a producer over there. So and he was producing that match. So he didn't reply right away because he's working.
He's busy. Yeah.
But afterwards he goes, no, because I'm like, did he get in a fight before he came out with someone backstage? He's like, nope, just hit the sign on the way out. That was it. But the Edge made that match phenomenal. It was such a good match. The entrance and the tone. I love his new music. I didn't think I'd like it. When I see it on the big stage, it clicks. The presentation, it just was a great, fun match. They beat the hell out of each other once again. You could tell they didn't like each other. It was great.
I will say that was a great match. And for all the reasons you just said, again, I go back to the beginning of this podcast. I don't think there was a bad spot in either night. but that one did not make my top 3. I just
really,
yeah, no, it's just there's too many other things that was a great match, and on any other pay-per-view, it would be a great match. But on a WrestleMania stage, to me, it didn't quite have the feeling of a Super Bowl or WrestleMania moment, if that makes any sense. It was a great match, great fucking match. And although the story was good, it wasn't this wow moment. I didn't like the intros were cool, but it didn't quite catch me as much as some of the other things in the night. It's no criticism to the guys in the ring. What they did in the ring was incredible and outside. But to me, it wasn't a top 3 moment of night 2.
I'm curious now to see, because if
no one's gonna like my night 2.
I was going to say, because if the words jackass comes out of your mouth, we may not be doing a podcast anymore together.
Oh, we'll get there. My number 3 was the big match, was Roman Reigns and Lesnar.
Really? That was your number 3?
That was my number 3 for a couple reasons why. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of like the big man competitions a lot, anymore. Like they had their purpose in the late 80s, early 90s. I thought that was great. Yeah, the big man, everything. And these guys can go like a lot better than most big guys. They're super athletic, obviously. And, they have great moves. They told a good story, I thought. And because of what was at stake and how that was built up to unify the titles rather, that's at least that's how they're building it up. And then he kind of walked away with 2 belts. So I'm still not sure about that. Usually when you unify a title, you should probably get rid of one of them. Anyways,
I'm hoping there's a new title, because those are the ugliest I've seen.
I don't love them either as far as looks go. And I've never been a fan of having 2 top titles it was just a little weird to me. I understand now looking back on it, what they're trying to do, because the fact of the matter is they kept getting the biggest fucking rosters you've ever seen. And at some point, they got to give multiple guys big spots. I get it. But from my old school fandom, I want to see one fucking top belt. I want to see one top belt. You can have the other ones, but one top belt. Anyways, so what that said to me, and the finish, like after all that long battle between 2 beasts, and they've both done all their moves, they both had all their spots. And then the shocking one at the end of that spear, I was like, okay, that was a rad finish, because no one knew which way it was going to go. I mean, that was the match that no one knew which way it was going to go in so many respects. People would have been happy either way. You know what I mean? There was no real loser in it as long as you gave a good finish. And I think they delivered a great finish. So to me, that was my number 3 spot.
I have it at my number 2.
Oh, okay.
I thought, once again, the only thing keeping it from being number 1 for me was the finish. It felt a little flat. It did not feel like it was a shocking come from nowhere for me. Like it felt a little let down. I know there was speculation, like, was Roman Reigns hurt because his arm was bent out, and then there's a picture showing a big bulge out. I'm not a doctor. I don't know if he's hurt or not. It would explain the shocking ending on how that match was a good match for both those guys. Brock Lesnar's not a pro wrestler, so a lot of his matches are not pro wrestling matches, and I'm okay with that. You can only do so much with a guy like that. I like the slugging, beating the crap out of each other over and over again aspect of a wrestling match, and it looked good in this instant. I just didn't like how flat the ending was.
I disagree, Dennis. It wasn't. See, the reason why I don't think it was flat, I don't think it was meant to be a shocker out of nowhere. It was just like, it was meant to be, I don't know, like a little bit more like an MMA ending, like more of a, like, I don't think it was supposed to be a pro wrestling ending. I think it was supposed to be like, what if just at a last desperation, someone could pull something off like that? I don't feel like there's a lot of last minute desperation where either one of them would have had to have a last minute desperation move. Right. And that's why it was unique to me. Maybe because there was an issue that I didn't realize, but it was just unique to me. So
I think I like that we both have a different view on how that ended. So that's interesting because we've been on the same page this whole podcast, and
Are you
quite
ready?
frankly discussed.
Are you ready? Are you ready to hate me and turn the camera off?
Here, before you say it, I'm just going to say that this is one of those perfect examples of old manism where just because I don't get it and just because I don't like it doesn't mean it was not good. And I have to get out of my own way sometimes. Just I'm saying that now, which
speaking of you, the guy that was in the ring that I'm about to tell you why it's my second one is Johnny Knoxville is older than you. So that's another factor of why I think it's so fucking rad. And when you see I loved this match from top to bottom. Obviously, we're talking about Sami Zayn and Johnny Knoxville, not because of what it was a wrestling match, because it was a fucking spectacle. And that's what you want at WrestleMania. How many times was like the biggest things when Tyson would come out or even before that, Mr. T, we had all these different celebrities. I mean, that was the point of WrestleMania is the spectacle. And that match was the biggest spectacle of the fucking weekend just because of what it, I mean, come on. We all know how silly some of the spots were. That was the whole point. Those mouse traps weren't doing anything. The botched end with the big rat trap. I mean, come on. That's the big hand. Now, for us watching at home, that looked like it came out of nowhere. We all know that guy with that hand was very fucking visible before that happened. All of that doesn't get in the way to me of that entertaining match. Having Party Boy come out, dancing around disgustingly was hilarious. How about Wee Man delivering a real fucking body slam? That's kind of crazy and awesome. Kudos to him. Bowling ball shots. The fact that, I mean, I know that's what Johnny Knoxville has done his whole life is kind of stunt shit. I mean, he's taken a bullet for a magazine that wasn't even in a very big distribution at the time. He's done a lot of crazy shit. But that makes it more impressive to me that he's still doing crazy shit into his 50s. And it makes it even cooler to me. And I just want to say my hat's off to everyone involved in that match because you knew it wasn't going to be a real match. You knew it was going to be a debauchery of pro wrestling if you're that kind of fan. I'm not that kind of fan. I just like to be entertained. And I thought it was hilarious. There were some real spots where you didn't know if Johnny really got fucking hurt, like too bad to not continue. You didn't know what the fuck was going on half the time. I did not expect to see other guys from Jackass show up. I mean, this was, to me, it's my number 2 of night 2. That's just it. Like, I love to be entertained with wacky shit sometimes. And that was a spectacle. It was all over the place. And I loved every minute of it.
Are you a Jackass guy?
I'm not the biggest Jackass guy. I mean, I've seen the movies. And when I was a kid, it was all over MTV, and I watched I watched quite a bit of it. I would say that I'm a fan, but I wouldn't say that I'm like this. I'm definitely not a diehard or a homer for the Jackass crew. I think what they do is hilarious, and I would probably never do it, but it's awesome for what it is.
I'm not a Jackass guy. And it just was, I'm not just one of those guys. I just don't like watching people get hurt. I've never seen a second of Jackass. So I was very.
Whoa. Did you just say you're no. Did you just say you're not a fan, not a Jackass guy, but you've never watched a minute of it?
Never watched a minute of it.
How that's like me arguing with my son to have him try a fucking piece of a fucking steak or sushi. I don't like it. It looks disgusting. Have you tried it? You're one of those guys, Dennis. You won't even try it.
When it comes to food, I'll try anything. I don't know if you've seen my 6-pack, but it just never come across my radar to watch. Maybe I should. I didn't know who any of those guys were. I felt very disconnected with what was going on there. But let me. I'm a little.
Yeah, you lost the argument when you said you've never watched any of it, but you don't like it.
You're right. But I will say I was entertained. Yes, you were 100% right with that. I was entertained, even though I didn't know what was going on. And here's how I know I'm getting older. My first reaction was to get on the Twitter and be like, "What is this crap? Oh my god!" And then I was like, you know what? just because I don't like it or just because I don't understand it doesn't mean a million people out there aren't laughing going, I can't believe Wee Man just did that. So I sat back, I let it play out, and I enjoyed it. At best, I enjoyed it because I got out of my own way.
Well, I'm glad you did, and I'm sure there's a lot of people here at Fightful that are true, elitist in the pro wrestling world that are absolutely going to eat alive that I have that even in my top 3. But I don't give a fuck. This is my show right now, and I'm telling you what the fuck I think.
Well, I will tell you that over at Drinks with Johnny, they all loved it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. When are you going to do like a WrestleMania thing, Drinks with Johnny? I want to see you crack the.
I got to figure that out. I'm waiting to have Austin on the fucking show. I got to reach out a few more times, I think, because we're not getting to the right guys at this point. Oh, but yeah, I'd love to have him on.
Tell him you're doing a podcast with me. That should help.
Yeah, absolutely.
I got to crack myself up.
Yeah. All right, what was your number 1, Dennis?
Well, going back to the Austin well, I mean, night 2, more Austin. I will say this, Pat McAfee, Austin Theory, phenomenal match. I thought, you know what, for what we said about, guys like Johnny Knoxville and Logan Paul, Pat McAfee, same thing. Not a wrestler, goes out, shows he can do it. Never once, even when it was McAfee and McMahon, I still didn't think Austin was going to show up. That one was actually a shocker for me. Right. So when the glass broke, I'm like, oh my gosh, yes. And I got the chills, and I'm like, this is going to be great. And you know what? I know that people are pooping all over it because of the way a 79-year-old man just took a stunner. But you know what?
I loved watching Mick Foley's post about it.
Yes. But you know what, guys? It was a stunner. I don't care if he took it bad or good. At least it was McMahon Austin all over again. And I will take 100 McMahon horrible stunners over not seeing one for the next 20 years from any of them. And I loved it. I even loved the bad stunner, like the stumbling back. I kind of do. And then it looked like his legs buckled from under him when he took the stunner. And I was hoping he was okay. Thank God it seems like he is. That horrible stunner didn't take away from the moment for me, because Austin, you just saw the smile, the glimmer in his eyes. Austin just loved being out there. Austin loved doing it. And when you can see it in their face, I love it for that guy.
I couldn't agree with you more. Once again, we're back on the same page. I'm going to call it the McAfee and McMahon match, because I think it just that's what it was. The Austin Theory match was a different match. And although it was a great one, I agree with you. Some of the spots that Pat McAfee did, I was like, I didn't know he can do that. I'm sure he's an athletic guy. He's
a punter.
Athlete. He's a punter.
How athletic can you be as a punter, though?
Apparently very fucking athletic, because I saw that motherfucker jump up onto the top ropes from a standing position. So, I mean, that's pretty fucking hard to do. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, I mean, I thought I was very into, I almost said impressed, but then that sounds like, oh, who the fuck am I to be impressed by Pat McAfee?
You're a fan. It's okay.
No. I mean,
podcaster.
Yes. But I just want to say, like, I thought it was awesome. I liked the backstory, showing him, learning to do it before he was into the NFL. And I really had a kinship to that story. It really spoke to me, because as a young kid, I wanted to be a wrestler. It didn't work out. I'm okay. But, moving forward, when Vince came out and I started to see the jacket come off, I was like, there's no fucking way. Like, he's 80 years old or 79 to your point. I wasn't sure, but I was like, this is like essentially an 80-year-old man. And I don't know if you've seen too many 80-year-old men in tank tops. That dude, it looks jacked still. Like, for an 80-year-old man, I was like, what the fuck? This is insane. And then they had a decent match. But again, I'm talking about WrestleMania moments. Having Vince McMahon out there, period, is a WrestleMania moment. Having Vince fight Pat McAfee is a WrestleMania moment. And then having Stone Cold and Vince McMahon in the ring again, circa fucking 1999, circa 2000, whatever you want to call it. And he falls for the same move of a beer chug into a stunner. Are you fucking kidding me? That is the WrestleMania moment of that night. That is hands down, bar none. Again, Stone Cold steals the show. To your point, he's laughing. He's having a good time because he knows that was a botched fucking stunner. He was having a good time with it, though. How could he not? This is his former boss, still over there, still having a good time. And going back to one of the most iconic moments or segments or storylines in all of wrestling history. I mean, that really was, that was what killed that storyline, in my opinion, is what killed WCW. It was too good. It was too good of a storyline. It was, they had the same dynamic, if you want, of the Eric Bischoff, Vince McMahon characters. Those were close. But Austin was bigger than the NWO. He became bigger than the NWO at some point with that same dynamic because he was more blue collar. He didn't have anybody else. It was just him and McMahon and McMahon's cronies, and he was taking him out while all the while chugging beers, flipping everybody off, and hitting Vince with a fucking bedpan in the hospital. I mean, the storylines like that were part of that era were undeniable to me. And to see them back in the ring this many years later, call it nostalgia, call it what you will. I don't care. It was fucking fun. And I popped so hard for it.
I will say this WrestleMania did teach me that, you know what? Sometimes it doesn't always have to be great for you to enjoy it. And you shouldn't rush out there and shit on something right away. That as entertainers, we want to be the first one to make the funny joke. And I had a great one. I mean, I sent you a picture of a tweet I put out. Was it the second night where it was McMahon-McAfee in the ring? And I'm like, somehow Pat McAfee found a way to wrestle himself 50 years in the future because they looked alike. But
it was funny. I laughed.
Okay, good. That was just for you.
Yeah, because did anyone else laugh?
No, nobody will. But I thought it was funny. But it with the botched stunner, I'm starting to understand. Like, look, I don't care if it's perfect or not. At least we got to see it. We may never see it again. 79. He's not going to eat that many more stunners.
If any, dude. I mean, well, to that point, it's what are you watching wrestling for? You want to be entertained, right?
Yes.
How can you watch any of that from this weekend and tell me you were not entertained?
From stuff I was entertained.
All of it. I was entertained, and that's what I'm looking for.
It was a magical weekend. I will even say it, magical weekend. I found myself excited for night 2. I think we even a little behind the scenes after night 1, we're sending each other texts like, how do we want to do this? Do you want to do top 3 of the whole weekend or top 3 of the 2 shows? And you're like, well, let's see how show number 2 pans out. Pump your brakes, because once again, I think it was maybe a Mania or 2 ago where night 1 was great. The second night sucked. And, look, WWE in the last couple of years has not done a great job of selling its own product to us as fans. I can't tell you the last time I've watched a whole Raw. You know what I did? I watched the Raw after Mania because
the biggest Raw of the year. That's definitely the biggest Raw of the year. And even to your point, the last couple WrestleManias, I watched parts of the Raw afterward. I made sure that I recorded and was able to really get everything from this Monday night Raw. And I did. It was a great follow-up.
Yeah. And I'll say this. I'm going to pay a little bit more attention to WWE than I have, because I make it a point to watch AEW. I'll make it a point to search out Raw highlights. Something's got to go sometimes when you have family, kids, several podcasts. And, for me, Raw hasn't lived up to it. This weekend, Raw after Mania, it was great. Now I'll make it see, I'm going to my first Raw, as we were saying. Uh, well, depending on, well, this comes out tomorrow, which is right now on people's time.
Yeah.
It's coming Monday's Raw. I will be there. I'm excited about it. But
I can't wait for you. That's going to be awesome.
oh man, you know, if I knew
again, it goes back. Sorry, go ahead.
If I knew how to spell, I'd put our names on a board and hold it up. Wouldn't that be tacky? Like, is that Dennis holding up his own sign?
Just hold up a 3.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Have you ever wore your own band shirt just out in public?
Not my own band, but I have my own Drinks with Johnny gear that I wear just because I mean, Drinks with Johnny is my own thing. It's not 4 other guys and me. It's not, it's also a different moment in my time. Like when I was a kid, you can't wear your own band shirt. It's fucking terrible. It's terrible. So I've never done that. I've worn some of our merch though. Now, like we got a lot of cool stuff, like sweatpants and stuff that are really nice, and hats and shit. But for Drinks with Johnny, I have like pretty much every shirt that we make. I also have and I wear because I just fucking like it. It's artwork that's all about me. What's not to love?
I mean, if one was interested in buying Drinks with Johnny swag, where would they get it?
I don't know, someplace like drinkswithjohnny.com or, it's really hard to find. No, it's anything that these great people are listening to or watching right now, if they actually are curious about the Drinks with Johnny podcast, that's drinkswithjohnny.com. Anywhere you get podcasts, anywhere. It's on YouTube. Had a lot of great wrestlers, from Hall of Famers to guys of today and everything in between. CEOs, former CEOs. We have a lot of wrestling fans, comedians, obviously musicians, actors.
Go check out stars. I don't listen to many podcasts that are not like my podcast. I listen to comedy podcasts, history podcasts, and mostly about those two things. Drinks with Johnny is one of those podcasts I listen to religiously because I just the host is kind of cool and the guests are amazing.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Oh,
I have fun with it.
Tell the host I'm a fan of his.
Yeah, I'll let him know. Before we go though, another moment that I thought was really cool of night 2, but I thought we were going with matches. Triple H coming out and addressing the crowd after the announcement at WrestleMania. As he said it in the best way he knows how, gave him the little bit of the show and said just enough, just those few words, and then left the boots. I was like, that's a moment right there. That's a serious moment.
And by the way, on night 1, I just want to go back and say I saw a great tweet. So this wasn't me being an investigative journalism. Stone Cold Steve Austin came out exactly 3 hours and 16 minutes into the show.
No.
Yeah.
That's pretty rad. I
don't know if it was planned, but he came out exactly at 3:16.
I don't know, but I think that's the bottom line because Stone Cold said so.
Listen, we want to know what you guys think. So make sure you tag us in tweets because that's really the only thing we have is Twitter. And I don't know, throw a rock or something. I'm sure you'll hit one of us somewhere doing something.
Yeah. What do you got? What do you got going on? Don't you have a podcast too?
I do. The Wrestling Perspective.
One of my friends. I think I got a friend on there.
You have a best friend on there. I have a guy that just kind of knows me once again. I do podcasts with people that are acquaintances, but they love other people. So
yeah, who was that again? You got some guy in a band,
Rancid, I guess.
That's his band. Lars. Lars.
Yeah, it's Lars Fredrickson and myself. We interview wrestlers, and that's my podcast. It's No Drinks with Johnny.
I don't know. I love that podcast.
Yeah, well,
you guys have some great wrestling going on over there.
Yeah, we're excited. This week we have the voice of Ring of Honor coming on, Ian Riccaboni. So that'll be with the sell of ROH, and
you gotta have him do a promo for you, like a promo for the Wrestling Perspective podcast, and then you could play it.
I didn't even think about that. Oh, look at you! I
not just a hat rack, my friend.
No, you're not. And damn good looking too. But listen, we missed you guys last week. We had to take a break. That was my fault. I just got busy, and we're back and doing it. And we take requests too. If there's a top 3 you want us to talk about, Tag us as a tweet. We're not married to doing anything. Some days we'll do top 3 stuff we like this week. Other days we may do top 3 finishers. We don't know.
Yeah. And if you got a good one, we'll probably do that because we don't want to think too much.
No, God, no. We just want to get on and record. And then
I just want to get on here and talk fucking wrestling. I don't get to do this enough.
Oh, I wish I had more wrestling fan. I'll say this before we hang up. This is how starved I am for wrestling friends is my daughter's going to like one of those little mini Comic Cons this weekend, a couple hours away. And she wanted one of her over where her mother lives, her neighbors to go. So I had to text the mom. It's the first time we talked. And she's like, yeah, why don't we meet up on Friday, introduce ourselves and make sure you're not some weird, creepy guy, which I get it, by the way. And
how did you convince her you weren't?
Well, not yet. I haven't met her yet. So I'm thinking about doing like a Mrs. Doubtfire thing where I show up, but also our nanny shows up.
Wow, you're gonna go back and forth. I love it.
I'm thinking about it, yeah. But I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And like she's a seamstress for a lot of bands and stuff. And I'm like, oh, what's your husband doing? And she's like, oh, he's a welder. And she's like, what do you do? I'm like, well, I do wrestling podcasts. And she's like, oh, wrestling. I'm like, yeah, does your husband like wrestling? Knowing nobody our age likes wrestling and will open. She's like, no. I'm like,
well, I think we're changing that. We're changing that every bit we can, a little bit each day, changing that narrative right there. Because I think everyone who loved wrestling at some point in their life, and there's been a whole hell of a lot of them.
Yeah, and we're bringing wrestling back.
We're not. They are. Because right now, I think it's a great time in wrestling. Once again, I think it's there's a lot of great new talent. There's a lot, some of the old talent coming back. Some of the talent that's just kind of been there the whole time. I mean, man, it's just a great time. It's a great time to be a wrestling fan, and I'm really happy we get to do this. And I have another person to talk to about wrestling.
Yes, and the fact that you text me is awesome.
Yeah, that's actually
not for you, but for me.
That's actually my assistant. I don't physically text you.
You've hit rock bottom that I'm the guy you text to talk wrestling with. Whenever you're in rehab for drinking, they're going to be like, Johnny, what's your rock bottom? Be like, I text Dennis Farrell.
I ain't no fucking quitter. I ain't no fucking. Talk to me about being in rehab for drinking. I got my shit on control.
Your rock bottom is talking to me. That's when you realize you hit rock bottom. You're like, I drink way too much if I'm letting that guy in my life. Holy shit. Listen, we're going to say goodbye here and probably chat a few minutes off the air. For everybody at home, the show's over. Go home, watch whatever you want to watch next. Make sure it's wrestling. Johnny Christ, thank you, man, for sitting and talking wrestling with me for another week.
Man. Absolutely. Cheers.